What's up everybody, welcome back to A Ball and a Goal. My name is Cornel and in this video I'm gonna look at who is worth selling and who is worth buying ahead of the Game Week 2 deadline. Also I'm gonna talk about the captaincy, although for Haaland owners the only debate is either to triple captain him or not. And at the end of the video I'm gonna show you how my team looks ahead of the round 2 of games. Now, before I get into the transfer talk, I want to make a couple of points. I think there is too much emphasis on who you should buy and not too much on who you should sell. So on this channel, we're going to do things a little bit differently. And we're going to look at your teams and we're going to debate who is worth selling. And then, and only then, we're going to look at possible replacements. How are we going to do that? Well, I will make a list with the top 10 most owned defenders, top 10 most owned midfielders, and top 6 most owned forwards in the game, so that the majority of the people who are playing will find somewhere between 6 and 12 outfield players on this list. I'm also going to add players that are not that highly owned, but they have a special situation, like a long-time injury, suspension, or suddenly they lost their place in the first 11. So with that in mind, let's look at the top 10 most owned defenders in the game. I highlighted with red the ones that I will consider selling if I have them in my team. Not necessarily right away, but definitely in the near future. The ones with blue, they should be fine, they are okay. One thing to keep in mind, if you started the game with just one premium defender, and I include in that category Saliba, Porro, Guardiola, Alexander-Arnold, Gabriel and Van Dijk to a certain extent, then your top priority should be to bring in another premium defender, but not at the expense of the one that you already have. Alright, so the ones highlighted with red, Dan Burn, and I think I'm a little bit harsh on him. There were talks before the start of the season that he might lose his place in the team. He's definitely one of Eddie's Howe favorites, that's for sure. He's definitely going to start the next game. Fabian Schär is suspended. The only reason he's here is just because Newcastle fixtures don't look too good, especially from Game Week 3 onwards. If I'm not mistaken, they are playing, I think, 4 of the next 6 games away, and the 2 that they are at home are against Tottenham and Manchester City. So from the defensive point of view, just doesn't look good for Newcastle. Barco, I have him in my team at 4.0, had an excellent preseason. He lost his place, didn't play a single minute for Brighton. And the one at the bottom, Konsa, he wasn't in the top 10 most owned defenders, but I included him because, again, like Barco, had an excellent preseason, started the game against Ipswich Town, but he was substituted at halftime, and suddenly Liverpool started to play so much better. So it's never a good look for a substitute player. And he already dropped in price. He's 4.4 at this moment. Now, I'm going to do a side note here, and this has nothing to do with fantasy football. It's just purely football. And I just think that there is a similarity between Barco and Konsa, in the sense that they are both young talents that play for teams that recently hired new managers. And usually, when a new manager comes, he wants to prove a point. And he cannot prove a point with the most established players, the players that have been at that club longer than him. So he has to prove a point with the younger ones. And I think this is what happened in both of these cases. Neither Barco or Konsa did anything wrong. It's just the new manager wanted to show the locker room there's a new sheriff in town, basically. So if you are unfortunate enough to have Barco and Konsa in your team, then you should definitely consider to make a transfer, because basically you are limited to only 3 playing defenders. So you don't have any substitutes on the bench. So let's take a look at what I would recommend in this case. And basically there's only two teams I'm looking at, just because of the next two fixtures that look really good on paper, and that's Fulham and Nottingham Forest. I already have Robinson in my team from the beginning of the season, but if I had to make my pick now on a Fulham defender after I saw the Manchester United Fulham game, it will be Kenny Tete. He looked really good, really energetic, getting in good position, got a shot on target, finished the game with 0.09 expected goals. And the other team will be Nottingham Forest, again, because of the next two fixtures, away at Southampton and at home against Wolves. Willy Bolly, always a threat at the corners and free kicks with his aerial ability. And Neco Williams, who can always get you an assist. Actually, he finished the game with 0.13 expected assists. And he is one of the 6 players who got 2 successful crosses into the first game week of the season. So these are the 4 defenders that I'm looking at. Now, of course, if you didn't make the transfer already, probably, unless you have some money left in the bank, you could not make the move from Konsa to any of these. But if you made it already and you pick one of these players, then good for you. So let's look at the midfielders now. These are the top 10 most owned midfielders in the game. And again, I highlighted with red the ones that I will consider to sell if I had them in my team. One thing to mention before I start talking about Garnacho and Nkunku. If you started a game without Haaland, but with Salah, I think you should have at least 3, if not 4, of Palmer, Saka, Eze, Fernandes and Diogo Jota. If you started the game without Salah but with Haaland, I think again you should have at least 3, if not 4, of the same players. So this should be your top priority when it comes to midfielders. Definitely at least 2, if not 3, of Saka, Eze, Fernandes or Diogo Jota, depending on if you have Salah or not in your team. So from the top 10, the only one highlighted with red is Garnacho, and like in Dan Burns' case, I think I'm a little bit harsh on him. Didn't start the game against Fulham, came off the bench, looked pretty good, finished with an assist, missed a big chance, finished the game with 0.68 expected goals. Pretty good. If you ask me, I think he will start the next one. I think Zirkzee will start up front, Fernandes will drop into the number 10 position, and Ahmad and Garnacho will play on the wings. So definitely a hold for now. But if he doesn't start the next game, then it's possibly a transfer out into the next game week. Other than that, on this list, Salah, Palmer, Saka, Eze, Gordon, Fernandes, Diogo Jota, Foden, Smith-Rowe, all of them good holds for the moment. And the last one that wasn't in the top 10, I think it was the 11th most owned midfielder in the game, was Nkunku. Now a lot of people were panicking and were disappointed, basically, the fact that he got the hook after 57 minutes in the game that they play against Manchester City. And he was pretty wide, like Palmer as well. This is just my opinion. I don't think that Maresca will play the next game with Enzo, Lavia and Caicedo in the midfield. I think he did that just in the game against City, just to stop them, get more people into the middle of the park. So my opinion is that either Palmer or Nkunku will play more centrally into the next games. So if you have Nkunku, I think you should hold him for just maybe 2 more game weeks and reassess after that. But if you really want to sell him, if you're done with Nkunku, if you don't want to see Nkunku anymore in your team, then let's look at some possible replacements. So again, Fulham, Nottingham Forest and Manchester City. Let's talk about Manchester City first. If you don't have Haaland and if you want to watch the game sitting on the couch and not hiding behind it, then your transfer could be Jeremy Doku or Bernardo Silva. I think, in my opinion, Bernardo Silva looked better, but if you want to take a 1 week punt and make a transfer from Nkunku then Jeremy Doku is your guy. I think he's excellent in 1v1 situations, which really helps against a low block defense like it will be in this game. So yeah, it's pretty close between them. Take your pick. I will go for Bernardo, but I understand if somebody wants to go for Doku. Other than that, Andreas Pereira and Iwobi from Fulham, again good next to fixtures, Leicester at home and Ipswich away. I already have Smith Rowe in my team. I didn't put him on this list. If I had to make my pick now on a Fulham midfielder, it will probably be Andreas Pereira based on what I've seen in the Manchester United Fulham game. Finished the game with 0.16 expected assists. Iwobi I think is a good pick too. 0.15 expected assists. I'm going to mention Traore, although I know a lot of people are going to laugh. I think he looked good as well. And from Nottingham Forest, Hudson-Odoi, 2 shots, both on target. Finished the game with 0.20. And Gibbs White, on penalties, 90 minutes. I also could add Elanga here, though he was substituted before the 60 minute. I think he was a little bit injured, so he should be fine. And again, I know I'm gonna make a lot of people laugh, but Yates as well, I think at 5 million offers great value, at least for the next 2 games. He had a great preseason, scored I think 2 or 3 goals, got an assist for Chris Wood's goal in the first game. And definitely is going to play now that Danilo is injured. So yeah, those are the players that I'm looking at if I want to transfer out Nkunku from my team. So now let's look at the forwards. And these are the top 6 most owned forwards in the game. And the only one highlighted with red actually is Tony, which is not in the top 6, which means that if you have any combination of Isak, Haaland, Watkins, Solanke, Joe Pedro and Havertz, you should be all good. I don't see any reason to transfer anybody out from these 6 players. If you started the game with Ivan Toney, he's definitely a transfer out. He already dropped in price, he's 7.4 at this point. If you had some money left in the bank and you made a transfer already, hopefully you went for Havertz, which I think is a great pick. If not, I think Joe Pedro from this list is a good pick as well, even though the next 2 games don't look that good. From game week 4 onwards, Brighton fixtures get really juicy. And if you don't like Joe Pedro, then let's take a look at the other 2 options that I have here, Muniz and Wood. Now, if you already have Robinson, or you already have Smith Rowe, or you're planning to get another Fulham defender or midfielder, I don't think it's a great idea to triple up on them. So in that case, I'll go for Wood. Actually, I think Wood is actually the better pick, to be honest with you. Had a goal in the first game. Great next to fixtures, Southampton away and Wolves at home. So based on how many Fulham players you already have in your team, you can get Muniz if you don't have any, or if you already have a Fulham defender or midfielder, you can go for Chris Wood. And if you don't like any of them and you have Tony and you want to make a transfer, I think Joe Pedro is a good pick as well. I don't have him on this list, but I could have added Jamie Vardy, which at 5.5 offers great value. I think he will play every single minute as long as he's fit for the Leicester side. I don't see any other players scoring goals. And like I said, I think that every time Leicester will score, he will be somehow pretty much involved in it. So he's one definitely to watch out for. I think Leicester fixtures from game week 6 or 7 onwards, they look pretty good. So that's all about transfers. Now let's take a look at the captaincy. So Haaland, obviously, if you have him in your team, there's no debate there. I mean, the only question is if you are willing to triple captain him or not. I think it comes down to how confident you are that he can score 2 or 3 goals in this fixture. On paper, I think it looks I think it is the best fixture of the whole season. The only ones that can look better, it's probably Southampton at home and Leicester at home. But we don't know at that point if he's going to be injured. We don't know who they're going to play in the Champions League. So at this moment, he is fit. He's going to play 90. There's no natural replacement for him in that Manchester City side. So definitely an excellent pick. And if you're confident enough that he can score at least 2 goals, then go ahead and triple captain him, because it's a great option. For the rest of us who don't have Erling Haaland, there's a couple of options that we can pick from, including Salah and Diogo Jota and Alexander-Arnold at home against Brentford. Solanke at home against Everton. Actually, I think that's a good pick, a good option. And if you're feeling adventurous enough, if you have plenty of adrenaline running to your body Saturday morning, you can go for Gabriel. And the reason I have Gabriel here on this list is a couple of things. First, I think Arsenal will go over there and will keep a clean sheet. And I think Arteta learned from the mistakes he did last season. He will be more cautious. Second, I think Arsenal look very good from corners and free kicks in the preseason. Actually, Gabriel scored a header in the last friendly that they had before the season started against Olympique Lyon. And also, I look at the first game that Aston Villa played and how many chances Souček had in the game against West Ham. So if you put all these things together, then Gabriel looks like a pretty good option. But like I said, this is for somebody who is extremely lucky, who can find in a couple of seconds the needle in the haystack. For the rest of us who have a normal life and we are not that lucky, I think the safest pick is obviously Salah. Diogo Jota as well. And I'll put Solanke third and Alexander-Arnold fourth. And the last thing I want to do is take a look at my team. So this is how my team shapes up for game week 2. I'll go with Areola in goal. I don't expect a clean sheet actually, but with Todibo and Wan-Bissaka ready to start, I'm pretty sure they will get better defensively. Back 3 of Robinson, Gabriel and Alexander-Arnold. Middle of 4 with Smith Rowe, Saka, Salah and Diogo Jota, and a front 3 of Kai Havertz, Isak and Solanke. On the bench, Fabianski, Minteh, Konsa and Barco. I don't think I'm going to make any transfers. The captaincy at this moment is on Salah and probably will stay on him. And the only thing that I'm considering changing is Minteh on for Smith Rowe. But the reason I got Smith Rowe in first place was exactly for this game, so it would not make any sense to putting on the bench now. Yeah. That's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope everybody gets only green arrows, and I'll see you all on the other side. Until next time, bye bye.